the cashier asked me, where are you from or what are your parents? And I said, Russian Germans. And she said, no, Germans or Russians. When I was 20, I was thinking I were never able to do this.
Left the houses, sold everything, came here and became a taxi driver.
And I said, hey, we built this house here. You should stay in this house.
Here you look at the weather. In Beijing, you look at the pollution. If it's above the yellow, you don't go out. It's better you stay home. So everyone is wearing masks, and if you don't wear a mask, you feel stupid.
Hey guys, everyone, welcome back. This is our third episode of Jetil Podcast, and we're here eventually gathered with our new guests. New guest, let's be clear here. Edgar, welcome back. Welcome to our show.
Thank you for the invitation.
Edgar is actually the representative of Germany today, and we're going to talk a lot about Germany, I guess. We're going to talk about Kazakhstan, and other stuff as well, so that you are interested in. Aidos, as usually, our second host.
Kung Fu Master. Yeah. What's going on, everyone?
Aidos is here, and yeah, I think today's episode would be great, again, as usually, and yeah, we should start probably. Edgar, welcome. This is it's actually very interesting that we see you here for the first time. And
I'm also really excited to do this.
Yeah. What was your expectation on when we invited you to the podcast? Like, what were you expecting? Tell us about that.
That's a good question in the beginning, because this brings me over to the main problem I've got now when I'm in Kazakhstan, because my Russian is so bad. And I was talking to my relatives, to my semya, and how I understood this was like Kazakhs who went to a different country and afterwards made some career. And it seemed for me like they did the decision to went to another country. But for me, it's like in another situation, because I was 8 months old and I didn't have like the opportunity to say, okay, I want to stay in Kazakhstan or move to Germany. So I was more like, brought by my parents to this. And due to that, I'm thinking, okay, it's also really interesting to tell about this, because the biggest minority in Germany is even like this German-Russian population minority. I'm happy to be here and really excited and to tell about it. Yeah.
Cool. The first question I got is, how would you estimate the situation of English, or you've been here already for a year?
No. I was last year for about 1 month, just to see the place, because I was only 8 months old, so I have no rememberings. As we said before, like I was also in this monkey stage as a child. And when my parents told me about different cultures, they told me about their life in Kazakhstan. We lived near to Bishkek at the border, and so it was more the village life, and like a kolkhoz it was called. So and mostly like with different cultures there. And in Germany, it's not like this. You have like in a school class, not that amount of different cultures like here. And so they told me about this, and I was really confused, because they told me, okay, we're Russian Germans, but we're from Kazakhstan. And I was growing up in Germany and thought, okay, what I'm now, because in Germany, we're saying you're mostly Russians because you don't look like a Kazakh and you can speak Russian. But my parents told when they were here in Kazakhstan, they were mostly Germans. I had also the same last week. I was in a supermarket. The cashier asked me, where are you from or what are your parents? And I said, Russian Germans. And she said, no, Germans or Russians. So for her, Russian Germans don't even exist. And
it's like a confusing a little bit, right?
And this is also what me really interested, because also the village I was born, it was called Trudovik. Afterwards it was Kishmishi, and now it's Alkati. So it was changing all the time. And in Germany, I had I was not able to write in Cyrillic letters, and I just wrote how it was standing in my passport, Kishmishi, into Google Maps to search it. And I was not able to find it. So I was thinking, oh, maybe I can do some art project out of it, like somehow some kind of Truman Show, because my parents told me anything about it, but I didn't knew it. And this was also the reason I thought, okay, I just make a first step to Kazakhstan, stay for 1 month, look how it is, and if it works. And yeah, now I'm the second time here realizing my project.
That's really impressive, actually. I mean, I think, yeah, it's very interesting how people who were born here as I would say, like, for example, your parents, they were at what age when they moved to Germany?
Oh, really young. Yeah, that's also one crazy thing because I'm now 32 and it's mostly normal in Germany to be 32 and not even being married or have children. And my mother was 20 and she was 20 when she was giving birth to me, when she married, and she left her home in Kazakhstan and built up like a new existence in Germany. It was really hard for them. And they were telling me that all the time and I was thinking, why have you done that? Well, when I was 20, I was thinking I were never able to do this. It was like a crazy thing going on, but it was like a whole family project. Like other cousins and uncles were also moving over, so it was like the whole community did it.
You should definitely work on this type of project. I think it's going to be super like interesting. It reminds me of my childhood because I was born in China. At the last episode, by the way, Madi said I'm from Shanghai. Actually, I'm not from Shanghai.
Oh, sorry. No, Peking.
Yeah, it was just kidding. I was born in China, but at the borders with Kazakhstan, because my father is from China. So he also left China when he was like I think 20 years old. He moved here without speaking Russian because after Soviet Union we were like it's all completely Russian-speaking country. So he had to he left a like prestigious job back in China, left the houses, sold everything, came here and became a taxi driver. And then he built a business. So, and we grew up in very, let's say it's a mixed culture in our home. So I go to school with this local kids. Sometimes I visit them, they eat like mostly Russian style food and the behavior is different. As my parents, they're from China, they have like totally like different culture at home. I come home, I eat with chopsticks. And I eat totally like different food, we don't have borscht, we don't have this pirashki and all that stuff, we eat like mostly Chinese food. And Eastern and Chinese food, like we have that. So I think it's very weird when you grow up and you automatically get this two, culture in your head. But in your case, I think you didn't get to experience because you're not even like from like big cities. Like you are from this a village that is closer to Kyrgyzstan. I think the life there is like. It was like totally different. Yeah. And you're 8 months old.
And he was still a child.
Yeah, he was still a child. So you just like you can just say totally you're from Germany because you just grew up there. But how was it like? Because your parents are from here. Yeah. I think at home they were still living in they were holding on to this cultural differences. Maybe you went to your just like me, you went to your German friend's house. Yeah. And it was different how they live or how they behave at home. And you come home, you have this Soviet, Russian, Kazakh mixed style culture or behavior at home. Even the food, maybe it was different. Yeah. Was it like that? I don't know. How was it?
That's a really interesting thing. And I was also talking with my school friends about it. And there were different movements where somehow some Russian Germans who went over to Germany and had like this aesthetic at home. But I must say, I realized that mostly the Russian Germans were really happy about to get back to Germany and to show her wealth. So not like to have the carpet at the wall and anything else, more like furniture who looks more modern. And this is also the reason most Germans are also saying about Russians, that we're building really big houses. Yeah, in Germany you have like your own flat or a house that fits to your family. Yeah. But my parents had like we built a house with like 3 floors, and nice. So the grandparents, the parents, and the children can live in this building, and this is what they were mostly doing.
Kazakh tradition.
Yeah. So it was also interesting because now my parents were not doing it because I am also the first one who studied and or were able to study, and we didn't even knew that you can study some topics you don't even get a job in the city you're now studying. And I said, yeah, parents, I have to move to another city to get a job. And they said, hey, we built this house here. You should stay in this house. What are we doing alone here? So this is also complicating because we brought like this tradition and things we were knowing from Kazakhstan or from the Soviet Union times to Germany. And now realizing, okay, there's like another movement. Yeah, and the children don't stay at home. And,
no limits now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because it reminds me of, you see, you're building a house, it's very Kazakh style, because my father built a house in 2006. It's a very huge house, it's also 3 floors. In his head, because we had 3 brothers, he thought that all of us gonna stay together.
Yeah.
We get married, bring your wife, stay here, we have 3 floors, we have like 5 bedrooms, it's all gonna be enough. And then soon he realized when he sent me to China to study, and then he sent me, after a couple of years, he sent my brother, and the third one was still in school, high school. So, and then he started realizing like they're like away, like what are we gonna do in this huge house? It's so hard to clean them. And then we came back. We came back after 10 years. I stayed in Beijing for 10 years. I came back and then we got married. And then we stayed with them for a few years and then we moved out. I bought an apartment here in the city. We moved out. My younger brother moved out. He lives in Turkey now. And the third one is left. So he's like, who did I build this house for? Like
what are you thinking of?
Yeah, his head was like so different. Like the way of thinking, it was so different. They thought like, we're all gonna stay here because the world is changing too fast. And I still suggest people, if you're not the only child in the family, leave. Yeah, leave before you're 20. Go. It's a life hack, man. You're gonna grow up. Otherwise, you'll be stuck. But the third brother, my youngest one, he's 19, so he has to live with them. In Kazakh tradition, the youngest kid stays with the parents. He's going to bring his wife and then they're going to live together. The last one.
Is it still relevant nowadays, like this kind of tradition? Because I mean, the more I experience this kind of families and I talk to a lot of people, and then in Kazakhstan, especially in the cosmopolitan cities like Astana or Almaty, people are living with absolutely different rules in the families, and then it doesn't necessarily mean if you're the youngest in the family, you have to like stay with your parents and so on. I think everything is kind of changing nowadays, and then it's very hard to say something definite.
You can't say. I don't think. I really don't know how it's gonna turn out, but until now, like in our head, everything is going the same way. Like my brother's gonna get married and he's gonna stay with them. I hope it's gonna work out like that because somebody has to look after them.
Sure.
We are not. We still have to. I think we have to try at least to hold on to our a little cultural. These little things. They still codes. They still matter because that's what makes us Kazakhs. That what makes us the difference. But like the last week I saw on Instagram. Did you see the news? There was a kid sitting in the bus. It was a younger gentleman, and he was arguing with this older woman, and she was like,
a prank eventually. Did you
that was a prank. Wow, I didn't know it was a prank. So he's sitting. Yeah, they fooled me. You see, I'm old enough to be fooled now. So he was sitting and then yelling at the woman. He's like, no, I don't want to give you my spot. Like she was like, hey, she just got on the bus and he's just sitting. And she's like, he's being very disrespectful. He's like, no, I don't respect you.
But it's pretty common thing to happen. I mean, even if it was a prank.
It is common now.
It's common.
But I must say,
happens.
sorry to interrupt you, but what I recognize it that the Kazakhs are the fastest in standing up in the bus. Really, in Germany, it's also common to stand up for the grown-ups or for the elder people. But in Kazakhstan, it's immediately when the door opens, the younger people are standing up. It's super good. Yeah, I really like it. And even if we're not sitting at the place, we're also standing and not using the sitting place.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing to talk about. I mean, is it a common thing to give your sit to the elder
to people who have like disabilities or old,
with the kid, woman with the kid.
But like, for example, I was studying in Japan, and Japan is absolutely different. I mean, you don't have to give your sit to the.
You squeeze the people.
Yeah, it's like the idea comes up from the you are disrespecting me considering me as an old person that you were giving me, like you think I'm a disabled person to have your sit or something like that. So it may actually.
You don't have to help me.
Yeah, you don't have to help
it.
me. I can handle it myself. I mean, Japanese people, I don't know where it came from, but they have this kind of idea. But once I was living in Japan, we were going by metro, and then my friend, he was from Azerbaijan, and he has this traditions to give a sit, I mean, as in Kazakhstan, and he gave his sit to the woman, to the old woman, and she was like, "Oh, thank you, like arigato, arigato," and she took the place. She took the place, and it didn't really I would say like hurt her feelings or somehow. Yeah. No, it didn't. I mean, I think it's just about the generation which has changed, and then maybe
the equality thing.
Not only this, I must say it's also the infrastructure and the politics, because in Germany all the trains are like not full. You can just ride easily and everything else. But now we had some struggles in Germany with like the traveling costs, the gas prices were rising, and so the government thought about to make a ticket, but you can just use the slower trains, not the ICEs, the fast trains, and you're able for €9 in the month to drive every train. And yeah, it sounds nice, but it was mostly due to that they wanted to bring the traffic off the road to the trains, but all the people used to make vacations or like day trips. So it was so crowded, and no German was really knowing how it will perform, and it looked really like you can say in a Southeast Asian country. It was we were pushing all the people, and we were screaming, "Oh, we don't have the places, but I have a ticket and I want my place." But if you buy a ticket, you don't even get the place to sit. So yeah, it was also interesting to see like this different behavior coming out from Germans as well. Yeah.
It's actually interesting how the infrastructure, I mean, the public transport is functioning in the European or developed countries, for example, in Japan. I mean, yeah, you're right actually about that. I mean, you don't have to give your place if it's pretty much enough places to everyone. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like in Japan, there is a certain limit of numbers of people who can actually enter the bus and go by bus and so on. Metro is different. Yeah, it's a bit different. Yeah, but so then I think it's interesting.
It used to be so crazy when I was in Beijing and I was going to my work, get to work. I was taking a subway. So it's weird because you just stand in line, because like a lot of people, like maybe 50 people behind you or right here, you just wait. Before it was a struggle for me, and then I got used to it. So what I do is I just stand, I do nothing. When the door opens, all these people just rush in. I don't even walk, I just stand there. They just carry me in. They just lift me up, they carry me in, and then I find the spot, I just hold, and I just say, okay, I'll here, thank you guys. Everybody just pass. And then everyone is wearing like the face masks. It was all before pandemics. Chinese people have been wearing masks for a long time. Also, I think it's the same in Japan.
Reason? Is it like polluted?
Yeah, it's polluted. First of all, they always wear this because you get up, you look at the weather. Here, you look at the weather. In Beijing, you look at the pollution. If it's above the yellow, you don't go out. It's better you stay home. You don't open windows because it's like that polluted. So everyone is wearing masks, and if you don't wear a mask, you feel stupid because it's like you're the one who's infected or something, weird feeling. But yeah, this thing that we're discussing, this giving your sit, it's totally, you don't discuss it in China because it's pointless. It's too many people, before you get up. So if I find a sit, I just sit, and slowly you become a bit, you start not caring about this anymore. But now that I'm here, back in Kazakhstan, it's been 7 years. Slowly becoming a local Kazakh again, and adapting. Yeah. So I don't know if it's the right thing or not, because obviously the whole world is losing our old behavior, old-fashioned behavior. You don't hold the doors for women anymore because they get offended in some countries. If you lift something up for a woman, they also get offended sometimes. So maybe it's my personal thing. I think I prefer still the old school way. I prefer to be a gentleman with women. I prefer to pay the bills for women. I prefer to give my sit up. I think men has the ability to do some things better than woman. I think woman has the ability to do some things better than the man. I think it should stay that way in my mind. But no disrespect, however.
Yeah, this is
everyone's
a
choice.
difficult topic.
Yeah, it's a very sensitive topic now, man. Don't get offended though, man. It's okay.
One more thing I would like to talk about is the adapting process, which goes when you were local, and then you go to, as you think, your country, and then you start having and going through all this experience as a new person living there. It's very interesting for me to hear the story of your parents.
Yeah.
I mean, how they went through this. I mean, what was the most difficult thing for them to adapt themselves to the Germany? And then,
that's a really good question. I think it would be better if with us here sitting. I must say it was also difficult for them to learn German because.
Oh, so they didn't know German?
No, we were speaking German, but we're from this German-Russian population who went to Russia in the 1800th century. So it was an old speak of German. It was not
Oh, it's like the Kazakhs were in China.
So we had also to do some language courses, but we worked well. And afterwards, where was my problem going on? Because my parents were speaking some mixture out of German and Russian. And I was growing up bilingual. And now it's really interesting because the languages also developed differently. When my mother was talking about making me a sandwich, she said, "Я тебе сделаю сейчас один бутерброд." And in Germany, it's also Butterbrot. Yeah. So the Russian word was adapted, or Schnitzel. It's like adapted. Yeah. And for me, I didn't knew if it was a German word or just a German word spoken with a Russian accent. And so I was not knowing which language was which. So it was also difficult for me to speak in this
to understand the root of the word.
And I made so many mistakes. It was the one mistake I remember every time is when I wanted to go out, and I just said, because my mother was speaking Russian, "Я пошла," and my father was laughing. Yeah, ha ha ha. Yeah. Он пошел, да? And and as a child, it was really difficult for me because in Germany you don't do this with like verbs. You have like the Russian, the female version in Russian and the male version. So it was also for me somehow saying, "Oh, I don't feel really confident to do this." And most of my friends were also Germans, and I thought, okay, why are they talking all the time in Russian to me and saying about this Kazakh lifestyle? And I'm here in Germany, and I want to like be adapted in this culture and want to grow up like this because we're also saying we're Germans. So I had really problems to
identifying myself.
And I thought, okay, it's the easiest way just to say I'm a German and finished. Yeah. And now I recognize that somehow it had so much impact on me, and just saying, okay, I just left it behind and I don't want to know anything about it was really wrong. And now I'm in my 30s, and then I think I'm mostly talking with my friends who are also real Germans. Everyone is now starting in his 30s to think about how we developed, how it was in the family, how could it be otherwise or anything else. And this is also like a topic I'm now really diving into. I've read also one interesting theory about half American, half Indian. He's called, or his name is Homi Bhabha, and he called it in between because this is the main problem in the culture, that you're just going out from stereotypes. So you say, okay, this should be a German stereotype and this should be a Russian stereotype. So what of this are you? And he's telling that doesn't exist. There's only an in between, and it's fluid. So you can't say it's in this position, it's all the time moving towards this one direction, towards the other direction. And I thought, this is maybe the right thing to do it, like to say, okay, I'm a Russian German from Kazakhstan, but it's nothing more. You can say, okay, it's precisely this, or this. Yeah.
You see how tables have turned, because you can see in the movies all this time, like earlier, like in 90s, you see when you're an immigrant somewhere, they always try to hide it. Before it was like this. You don't want people to know about your culture. You don't want them to. If you're an Asian in America, you would prefer to just be, just be an American. Yeah, and also the brown or you're black or you're white, doesn't matter where you're from. It used to be like this, but now I think people embrace it. Even me, I always hate that I'm from that I was born in China. I never told anyone. I just grew up. I just behave like I'm a local guy. But I know that I'm at home. I eat with chopsticks, so I hide it. I know kung fu skills. I don't tell nobody. I can fly. I'm just kidding. I don't fly. I can jump really high. That's it. So I don't tell anyone about these things. But now I understand that this is something unique. Like you said, you have to embrace it. I'm proud of it. I say, I was born in China. I'm not like you. I'm different. It's something good. So you definitely should. I got some. So now, because for the last 10, 15 years, the world is so mixed up. Like so mixed up. You can fly. You can fly anywhere thanks to internet, right? You can fly to anywhere. You can see that people all are the same. Like we're like all are the same.
It's interesting. I would like to add something because I'm not like full Kazakh. Like my mom is Tatar and Bashkir.
And no wonder.
Yeah. and then
he has this Jewish behavior. He's very smart. I'm just kidding. It's still a stereotype.
Yeah. So my mom is actually Tatar and Bashkir, and then I have visited Tatarstan recently, a year ago. So I went to Tatarstan, and then I went to Kazan, and then I see all these people around.
Yeah, well, I love it in Kazan.
They're so close, they're so real, and they're so natural, because it's very interesting how I've been living, actually this is a true fact, at school everyone was saying my Ru is like Naiman, my Ru is something, and I was saying my father is Kazakh, he's Dulat, I'm Dulat, and they were asking me, who's your mother?
You don't really want to talk about it.
She's Tatar, and what? She's different nation and ethnicity. Kind of. And then I was trying to hide it. I was really trying to hide it, saying no, my mom is Kazakh. And then at the age of 16, when I was pretty conscious about this, I was like, I'm not a full Kazakh.
Yeah. Embrace it.
I'm not a full Kazakh. My mom is Tatar and my Bashkir, and then everyone was like, what? Really? And so, it was true. And then when I grew up, I was traveling around. When I started traveling around the world, I was like, no, I have to go to Tatarstan or Bashkortostan and then see how life is there. And then I went there last summer, and I visited Kazan, and all these people were so close to me.
It felt like your own land.
Yeah, because
I love Kazan.
Because my grandfather from mother's side, he's full Tatar, full Bashkir, and I was talking to him, and he was so proud when I told him that I'm in Kazan, and I even brought him this book, Bashkortostan Tatarlar. It's about the Tatar people in Bashkortostan living, and I brought him this book. He was so proud. He was like, "Oh, thank you." And I told him that I'm a polyglot by myself, and I told him my mission is to learn Tatar Bashkir.
Yeah.
I'm about to learn it, and he was so proud. And it's kind of a cool thing, uniqueness. This is something unique about you, and you have to embrace it, as you just said.
Yeah.
It's very interesting to talk about.
What I must say is also interesting that in Germany it sounds really unique. Yeah. But now I'm here in Kazakhstan, and I'm talking to people and telling my story, and everyone is like, when I'm telling my topic, I have the same. I know someone that did this and this. So also a typical thing in Kazakhstan, like I said in the beginning, my parents were in a class with 25 different cultures. And in Germany, you have almost 4 or 5 cultures in one class. So it's also interesting that in Kazakhstan, when I'm telling about this, it's not so special. It's a common thing. And what's also interesting, what my cousin said, is that as a Kazakh, you're knowing to the 13th tier of your family history, who is in your family. When I was living in Germany, I was not knowing whether I have a cousin in Kazakhstan. I thought all of my relatives are in Germany. And when I talked to my aunt, and my aunt, no, you have a cousin there. And I thought, okay, what kind of cousin? And it was he is my grandmother, and his grandmothers were sisters. So in Germany, you have only you're mostly your relatives to your parents, sisters, and brothers, and that's all. And what did I say?
Did you meet up with your cousin already?
Yeah. And
how was it?
Yeah, it was really cool because he was also able to speak German. He lived also in Germany, studied in Germany.
Great.
Yeah, and he can speak English and Russian as well. So it was really good for me because in the first beginning I was thinking, okay, my Russian is so bad, what I do.
What I'm gonna do, right?
It's a male cousin? Or?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah,
How do you like the Kazakh culture of I think it's mostly the Eastern culture when you know all your relatives and then you are in pretty good relationship with your relatives and then you know all your cousins, because in Europe, even in Russia, nowadays maybe it used to be differently, but I mean nowadays in Europe, in Russia, you don't really get too much well with your relatives, and then I mean you just forget about them. I mean, they're by themselves.
Depending on the family construction. Yeah. This was now was the second time I was coming here. I've met them again, and I recognized the city again for me. Yeah. So I felt like I'm really living here. I felt so welcome, and it was so great. Yeah, and it was like a good feeling. And I must say, that's like the thing the Kazakhs are also proud about, having a big family, because. His youngest daughter, she was also asking, when is Edgar coming again? And I have a video of Germany. She was really happy to say something like this. And I was also proud to know it. And the other funny thing was when I was talking to him, he said, I know all family members. So in Germany, we have someone there, and we have one in the city. And I said, which city? And he said, Leipzig. And I said, actually, my parents are from Kassel, but I'm also living in Leipzig. So I'm living in a city, and I was not even knowing that I have a cousin in Leipzig. So afterwards, when I was going back to Germany, I immediately wrote her, and we met up. And it was funny for us because we were also like in the same age and in the same circles with people, and we didn't knew even that we were cousins. We made also some jokes of it. So what could be wrong going? Or
what could have happened? So it's better you know it earlier.
It's actually good to have. I mean, in my case, it was like, sure, you're like you have a very, very big family, and then all your relatives are somewhere. Like someone is living in that country, someone is in other cities of Kazakhstan, and then wherever you go, you can find your relatives, and it's a good networking. It's actually helpful because, I mean, if you don't really talk to your relatives much, and then if you don't really keep this relationship up, you don't have much. You don't have much relationship with anyone. I mean, friends is different. Relatives are different because, for example, my grandfathers, my grandparents, they have. Some friends, some relatives, kinda in Germany also living, and I'm not sure. I don't remember which city, but when I'm about to go to Europe or Germany, they call them and they're like, "Madi is about to go visit you, please." Take care of him, kinda. And it's cool. I mean, I like it. I like this process because I think we shouldn't lose it.
Yeah, we definitely we don't have to lose it. We have to learn from Japan, to be honest, because Japan is super modern. And they don't lose their values, their family values, traditions, and the respect they have for each other. It's crazy.
Yeah, but Japan, unfortunately, nowadays it's the same problem with relatives and so on. Like
they have people on pension.
Yeah,
they have this old people. Old
the aging population
is
crazy. Still raising, and
it's fast. It's already past the newborns.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be I don't know. It's gonna be a big problem for Japan if they don't start. Making babies.
I mean, I think it will touch upon any country nowadays because of the modernization process.
By the way, I saw. We usually see this news that we see Germans that left Kazakhstan. In Germany, they celebrate the Nowruz, our holidays. They celebrate Kazakhs holidays sometimes. I don't know. Does it happen in your city? Where do you live, by the way? Which city?
Now I'm living in Leipzig.
Leipzig.
Yeah,
Leipzig
is the Germany. Yeah.
Is the factory where Mercedes is at, right? I think.
Or
it used to.
No. I don't know about the car factories. But I know
because I saw it on my keys.
I
drive a Mercedes and I saw a key that was written Leipzig. I don't know. Maybe it used to be there, Leipzig. You see, now I know how to pronounce it. I didn't even know how to read it because it's written very differently. I was like, okay, I don't even read it. It's just okay, keep it.
Do you the question is, do you usually participate in any kind of gatherings
Yeah, I don't know, maybe your
Kazakh.
parents, maybe, I don't know, people you know. We saw it on internet. It was, I think the Kazakhs from Berlin, it was, but maybe it's not in your city, but they're I mean, not Kazakhs, Germans, the German, Kazakh Germans, they celebrate.
Depending how you're connected to your relatives, and if you're having relatives in Kazakhstan. The only thing I was doing was the New Year's Eve. So when I was by other family relatives, we were counting the time. Okay, Kazakhstan is 4 hours ahead. So now the first rockets are going on. Cool. So I think maybe it was also
because we're in the future, right?
You're living in the future, and we don't want it to wait any longer.
Right.
So we're shooting some rockets, and after 4 hours,
champagne, you call
New Year's Eve in Germany, and we celebrated this as well.
Oh, okay, cool. Because I mean that's fun, because it's for them it's totally different. Oh, also I think there are some also restaurants in Germany, from Kazakhstan restaurants.
Yeah, but I think mostly in the biggest cities.
In Munich and Berlin, yeah. Did you try out? Do you have any Kazakh favorite dish?
Lagman.
Lagman?
With chopsticks.
Lagman with chopsticks, yeah, man. You made me hungry a bit.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, well, Lagman is. I think it belongs to everyone now. It's not. You cannot even tell if it belongs to Uyghurs. You cannot even tell if it belongs to.
It's pretty
Dungan or Chinese because it's a mix. It's a mix.
A funny topic when you're talking to Germans and we're asking about Russian food, and you're saying, we're many vereniki. And what is it? And it's all dumplings. And
it's like plov.
Also Asian, It's mostly dumplings.
You don't know who it belongs. Okay. Even the plov. Everywhere you go, the Central Asia, we've been eating plov for centuries, and you never know. But automatically we assume that it belongs to Uzbeks because I don't know, they cook the best plovs, I think. I've tried this best plov in Tashkent, and ever since I'm disappointed with Kazakh plov. So.
The interesting fact is that, for example, when I was in Japan, when I was first studying in Japan, and I went there and I saw this all infrastructure and then how developed the country is, it was kind of, a cultural shock for me for the first time. I was walking around the country, walking around the city. The city itself wasn't that big. I mean, it wasn't Tokyo. It was Tsukuba. It was pretty close to Tokyo. But when we landed, starting from that time until about 2 months, I was walking in a dream. It was this condition when you're just walking and you still think that you're in your dream.
It surreal. Right?
Yeah, it was surreal. It was absolutely different at that time. So did you have any kind of feeling like that? Because I know the cultural shock is something pretty common. Happens, especially if you're traveling a lot. Yeah, when you first came to Kazakhstan, and then what was the things that shocked you the most, and then maybe the things that you were interested about? Maybe I don't know.
Yeah, I must say it's funny because you Kazakhs know also about him. It's Borat, and
Did you have this? When you were searching about
Kazakhstan? The
Kazakhstan?
funny thing was because my parents told me a whole different story how Kazakhstan is. And when was this movie showing? And all the Germans or the Western population were really thinking of that Kazakhstan looks like this, but afterwards were also stated that it was made in Romania and not like this. But I thought, okay, but how do we do this? Why? And so I thought, okay, I moved to Kazakhstan, and I must say, when I was at the village from my parents where I grew up, it looked a little bit similar.
Exactly.
So somehow it was also a bit true.
I wouldn't argue with that. Somehow it's.
And even the city. What's interesting in the city is now I'm talking about Almaty. Is that if you're looking at the inner district, it's with great buildings and it's a high density. But it's also that Almaty is now growing, and you're riding 20 minutes with the bus, and you see also this kind of houses again.
Yeah, exactly. When you go down with the streets, down to the Tashkent
Yeah.
school.
Does it offend you, the movie itself?
I
like
mean,
the movie, to be honest.
what's
I like it.
yeah, it's a comedy, it's a mockumentary, but I mean, yeah,
if
but
you've seen it in this way, it's okay. But
it's interesting that there is a director, Kuka Besekov, who's like he once said that. I mean, I think it's important to show this movie to the younger generation, to the kids, because it may actually help them to understand how the situation is actually in Kazakhstan. Yeah, you're living in a city, but if you go a bit further, if you go to outside world, and if you see, it's very similar to what's going on in the film. I mean, of course, it's not like your sister's prostitute or something like that, but I mean, the infrastructure, how developed itself generally the country is, and then sometimes I mean I see the truth in this movie.
I like this.
But of course, I mean the thing they did with the flag, with the traditional like flag in Kazakhstan, of Kazakhstan in Australia, the demonstrations and so on.
It was too much.
Yeah, it was too much. Of course,
Some things are too much, but I think it's a big, it's a company. It's a big PR thing going on. There's actually, I think it's actually good to discuss for the next episode, maybe something about Kazakhstan. I think there's a reason behind this, that why did they choose, out of all these countries, they chose Kazakhstan specifically. And somehow Kazakhstan is becoming more and more important. I think in the future, maybe we will have some cities or zones that will consider as offshores in Central Asia, because we are becoming, in the political map in the world. I don't know. Kazakhstan is, it's growing rapidly, and we're going through this big change stage also. So I think there's a big reason behind this movie, and I like this movie. It was a big, it made people search for Kazakhstan. It made people learn more. Now look, and we're having this. This is the first and only podcast in English in Kazakhstan. So this is happening. This is happening. So, and you can have more English content. So, which is a good thing. I think there's a big reason behind it. I think there are some people are in charge of the course that Kazakhstan is taking, and now the situation is crazy around us. We got a big drag in China, and we got a big
and we're like
Russia,
sitting
and we're in the middle. People are here doing their business, and they're not even worried about anything. And I think there's a big reason, and I hope you're gonna. I hope Edgar is. He's already loving Almaty, I think, and like you said. Yesterday I was walking in Arbat. I didn't drive yesterday. We took subway, and people were giving seats to my wife because we were with kids, and I felt nice. I felt good in Arbat, and this younger generation, and a lot of foreigners because of the situation that's going on. And Kazakhs are very chilled, Nobody's looking at them bad. Nobody's telling them to leave. They're willing to
They're
help.
just doing their own business.
Yeah. So I think we will soon be a part of the modern world. So Edgar will not feel the difference when he comes to Kazakhstan. He'll feel like he went to another city.
Even walking at night, I thought, maybe when I don't see any street lights or anything else, I'm scared, anything can happen. But I walked at night, and I've seen even older women walking in the streets. And it's so safe here. Yeah, alone. It's really a nice place.
I can say proudly that we're safer than London at the moment, to be honest.
It's actually good. Also, one thing to mention is that, when I was living in Japan, and then I came to Kazakhstan, and then came back to Kazakhstan, and there is always rush.
Yeah.
The people are always in rush, but here in Almaty, yes, of course we have it, but comparing to the biggest cities, biggest cities of the world, it's like I'm not sure about the Leipzig, but I think it's pretty much the same. They're pretty crowded. People are always in rush, and then everything is going on all the time. Here in Almaty, it's pretty chill. Not that much people around, and you can just walk.
A friend of mine, he posted on Instagram stories. He said it seems like people in Almaty, all they do all day long is just have a coffee, have a tea, go to work for 1 hour and then come back, because everyone's like laid back and super lazy.
Yeah, that's right. So I think what I personally appreciate about Almaty is that you can feel yourself not in that much stress.
Yeah.
Comparing to Tokyo, because I live in Tokyo and I understand why people are committing suicide there very often.
Yeah.
I mean, it's mainly because of the stress, and then there is even a term in Japanese which is called koroshi, which means like you commit suicide because you got a lot of stress out of your work. And then I don't want it to be here, like, honestly. Because,
It's a society pressure.
Yeah.
Have you been to Paris?
Yeah.
And yesterday, me and my wife, we were taking subways and walking around, and we saw a huge difference. In Paris, the first day we got to Paris this year, and somebody stole our luggage right in front of the hotel.
Oh.
Yeah, the good thing, the taxi driver caught him. He caught him and he got it back, so it was nice. So this is the first impression. It was like crazy. Like, what the hell? Like, we're in Paris, we're in France. We're supposed to, people in our head, people are supposed to be cultured, and we see a lot of thieves. They steal your things in the subway. They steal. It's always you have to be worried and thinking about your stuff. Here yesterday we didn't care. Yesterday in Almaty, it's like I think it's much safer now.
Paris is like the touristic city.
Sure.
Oh man, it's crazy. Yeah, it's too much.
Yeah, if you're asking someone, okay, in which city do you want to go? No one is really expecting that you're saying Almaty. Yeah, and this is also interesting because last year I was here and I realized so much is now developing here. There's like the strikes going on beginning this year. It was like here's something happening now.
Yeah.
But you don't know how it will be in 10 years. Could be like the same as France.
Yeah.
So
I hope not, man.
That's why I'm kind of I'm not really into Paris or France, because I mean, yeah, sure, as a one visit.
Good to visit,
To live in Paris,
like
to stay there for a long time, I think it's
like in Turkey, Istanbul. It's impossible to stay in Istanbul.
Sure.
They have traffic at 2 a.m. in the morning in Istanbul. But to visit, it's a nice place. But if to live, I wouldn't choose Istanbul. Like I would choose somewhere like in the south, near the sea, something like this. Also, Turkish people. A lot of Turkish immigration in Germany, isn't it? They already became, German. They have.
So yeah, I think generally, for example, I mean, I personally wouldn't choose pretty much big cosmopolitan cities to live in, because I mean I'm a person of of course the rush, the usual rush, it kind of motivates you. People do a lot of things and then you want to be part of them, like to do something. It kind of motivates you actually. But when you got a lot of stress in your life, I think you're not on your place. You're not at your place, because I mean you're always in stress, you're always in rush, and it kind of makes me sick.
Yeah. I want Almaty, our cities, or I want them to be famous, but not that famous. I don't want to attract too many, I don't want tourists or foreigners here, because as you can see, the traffic is crazy. The city is small. It's a very chill city. It's a very safe city. You get to try nice food, and it's cheap. You can say, you don't have to spend a lot of money. In exchange, you get a lot of quality stuff, which is nice. And I want Almaty to be famous as a secret spot for foreigners.
More the underdog.
Yeah, it's like an underdog spot. You don't have a lot of nice cities in Europe. People don't go there much often. Like in Greece, there's a Santorini when all these tourists go, and there's another island that nobody goes, but it's similar, looks same with Santorini. The water is even better. So I want Almaty to be something like this. So foreigners who know what's going on, who know our culture, they come here, they stay here. So
yeah, that's so true, because I thought, okay, I want to go to Almaty because I have relatives here, but I thought I have also to visit Astana. And on the first day I was there, I talked to someone. You went there? Yeah, I was there. And the person talked to me in German again, to me, because he was realizing that I was a German, and asked me, why are you here in Astana and not in Almaty?
Yeah.
And I said,
You're from Europe.
No. And I said, I've heard that in Astana it's like nothing happening. And I thought this could be also interesting, because it seems like a Las Vegas. You have like these crazy buildings and like all these facades. I have to see this, but it's really so boring. And I was there for 1 week. It was also interesting. Yeah. But what I've realized, most people were saying that we're working there, and the city is so young. It's like the youngest capital. Yeah. And Almaty has some history and some culture happening before. So it's really different to this. And what I wanted also to say at the last is what I find interesting is that if you're looking at Astana, you're realizing that Kazakhstan is also looking for its identity. Yeah, if you see, if we go back to the topic is Borat, many people were offended because we were thinking, okay, Borat is like talking trash and it's not the true Kazakhstan, but Kazakhstan has so many cultures in it and is also looking, okay, what are now the real Kazakhs? Like all of the thing was going back to Latin letters and not again to using Cyrillic letters to be like not with Soviet Union stuff again.
Yeah, we're going back to the culture, to our own culture.
And this is also interesting. And I think persons who are coming to Kazakhstan should also see Astana, just to see the richness. And it's not like Borat. And afterwards go really to Almaty, and in Almaty like have to like the living and to feel how it is to be.
Exactly. Yeah, we really hope that, maybe in future, those who are coming to Kazakhstan, they would even consider Almaty or Astana maybe as a place to live, as a place to stay. Because, I personally face a very common, pretty much common problem is that when you're learning English or you don't have people to practice your English because expats, a very minority of people who are...
Somebody has to watch our content, okay?
Yeah.
So come.
And this was the third episode of our Jetil Podcast. Edgar, thank you for joining us today. It was
thank you for the
very
invitation.
nice, very nice to talk
Yeah.
to you. We'll keep in touch in future also since you're here. And thank you guys for joining today's podcast. Thank you for watching us. Subscribe our channel, put the thumbs up, and we'll see you in the next episodes. Goodbye, everyone. See you soon.
Bye. Ciao.